Hello, and welcome to South Asia Diary with me, Mariam Wardak. The floods in Pakistan continue to remain a top focus on our show. Today, we are focusing on its impact on the railways. Trains are a very important lifeline for the people in Pakistan. However, the recent floods have submerged railway tracks. Trains have been cancelled for more than 1 month. As a result, people are stuck in remote villages unable to reach safety. The cancellations have also affected hundreds of porters and vendors who derived their income from the railways. The government had promised them compensation, but many are yet to receive it. On tonight's episode, we take a look at how the floods have brought Pakistan's railway to a standstill. Also on the show,
Nepal plunges into a constitutional crisis after the president refuses to sign a citizenship bill passed by the parliament. For Sri Lanka's war-scarred Tamil community, the economic crisis has emerged as a double whammy. This Sufi mystic in Bangladesh courts hundreds of troubled minds seeking exorcisms. But rituals aside, he has a special tool to tackle their demons. One mayor in the Maldives is leading a campaign to rid his shores of single-use plastics.
Pakistan is home to nearly 8,000 kilometers of railway tracks. It is a major mode of transport for the people in Pakistan. Yet for the last 1 month, most of this network has been shut. The railway tracks have been submerged by the floodwater. Hundreds of workers linked to the railway have lost their livelihoods. We take you to one such station in Karachi. It is usually bustling with porters and vendors. Now it wears a forlorn look.
This is the Karachi railway station. Dozens of porters are seen idling around the platform. Normally, it would be packed around this time. Travelers rushing to find their seats, vendors screaming at the top of their voice. But not today. Today, this railway station lies deserted and quiet. Not far away, you can see why. Most railway tracks in Pakistan's Sindh and Balochistan provinces look like this, submerged in water. For more than a month, all trains have been cancelled. The result? These porters have no work to do.
How am I going to pay the rent? I somehow saved my family from floodwater, brought them from my village to Karachi, thinking I would earn and support my family. But I haven't been able to earn anything because trains are not running. I don't know what to do. How do I arrange money to pay the rent?
Around 500 to 600 porters tell the same story. They used to earn between $4 to $6 until 2 months ago. Now, pretty much nothing. The floods have destroyed the rail, road and communications infrastructure. Most of the trains have been cancelled, and those still running are always late.
The government announced it would give us $314, but we haven't got anything. We don't know what to do or where to go. Nobody is listening to us. We are 500 to 600 porters sitting here idle for weeks. We don't have money to buy food for ourselves, for our children. My village is flooded. My house has collapsed.
The railways are an important lifeline in Pakistan. It snakes around the country, making up 7,800 kilometers of track. Every year, almost 70 million passengers use the railways. But right now, they are stuck. Their options are to either wait endlessly for trains that may not even come, or take small buses to reach their destination.
We have come here from Rawalpindi. We had been stuck there for a month because of the absence of train services. We managed to reach Rohri after facing a lot of difficulty. Now we are going up to the bypass to try to catch a bus to reach our destination.
You can find such aggrieved passengers outside most stations. There is no timeline as to when the services will resume. Nearly 1/3 of Pakistan is submerged in floodwater. It could be weeks, even months, before the water recedes. Until then, it is a long wait for these porters. They come diligently to the station every day, hoping the trains will resume. So far, it's been a disappointing routine. South Asia Bureau, WION, World is One.
Presidents play a sensitive role in parliamentary democracies. Technically, they are heads of states. However, in reality, they exercise no real power. Their job is to ratify decisions made by the elected government. In Nepal, the president is refusing to do this. The government had passed a new citizenship law earlier this year. The president, though, has no plan to sign it. What led to this constitutional crisis? Can the young republic navigate it?
Nepal is in the grip of another political crisis, a tussle between the country's rulers. On one side is the president, a constitutional post with no executive powers. On the other side is the government, the prime minister along with his cabinet. So what is this tussle all about? A citizenship amendment bill. It has been passed by both houses of the parliament, but the president is refusing to ratify it. The first rejection came on the 16th of August. President Bidya Devi Bhandari sent the bill back to Nepal's lower house along with a list of changes and suggestions. On August 18th, the government's lower house held a vote. It approved the bill once again and sent it back to the president, only to receive another snub. Another presidential dismissal. Reports say that this time Bidya Devi Bhandari deliberately missed the deadline and chose not to acknowledge the bill, forget ratifying it. Her actions have sparked a fresh backlash. She is being accused of abusing her power. A statement by the Nepalese government reads, "This unconstitutional move by the president has grossly insulted and devalued the federal parliament elected by the people." That's not all. The youth wings of ruling coalition parties, mainly the Maoists and the Nepali Congress, are seeking the Nepalese president's exit. And to drive the message home, they also plan to stage nationwide demonstrations.
Stateless youth in Kathmandu, Nepal are staging protests against President Bhandari's decision to not certify the citizenship bill. They're accusing her of taking away their constitutional rights and are demanding President's resignation. Just a while ago, the coalition leaders issued a joint statement terming the decision, the step of the President Bhandari's, as unconstitutional. We know that there has been differences between the Prime Minister's office and the President. After the disapproval of the bill, now there's an open confrontation between the President's office and the Prime Minister.
So what explains the Nepalese president's apprehensions? Why exactly is she refusing to ratify the bill? Well, reports claim that she's against certain provisions of this bill. The first one is a citizenship provision for foreign women. This bill grants them the right to acquire citizenship immediately after marrying a Nepalese citizen. The second provision concerns citizenship to children whose parents' whereabouts are unknown. Under this amendment, children born to a Nepali mother who have no idea about their father could get citizenship on the mother's request. These changes would have entitled more than 500,000 people to citizenship certificates and eventually granted them voting rights. But the president doesn't like the sound of this. She says such a bill could threaten Nepal's interests. Her critics say she's only trying to secure the interests of her own party, the Communist Party of Nepal, or CPN. Led by Nepal's former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, they're being slammed for trying to use the bill for political ends. You see, in 2 months from now, Nepal will head to polls. And the CPN's prospects don't look too good. The party is trailing in every opinion poll. So is it trying to orchestrate a constitutional crisis simply for electoral gains? Who knows? Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Mental health is often considered a taboo in Bangladesh. People often attribute their troubles to demons and supernatural beings. Sometimes, instead of seeking professional help, they approach mystics and religious gurus. They bet on exorcisms and rituals. One such Sufi mystic has decided to turn the tables. Beyond exorcism, he has a secret weapon to help people. What is that weapon? Find out in our next report.
Hundreds of people have lined up outside this Sufi shrine in Bangladesh. There are prayers on their lips and demons in their brain. At least that's what they believe. Most people here complain about supernatural interventions. They think they are possessed or worse.
I came here to find a solution to someone hurling splinters of brick on my sheet roof. It is suddenly raining and I see shadows behind me all the time. Whatever I intend to do in life turns into failure.
Not for 85-year-old Syed Emdadul Haqqu. He is a mystic descended from a venerated family of Sufi saints. He holds the title of Pir, meaning spiritual mentor. One by one, Haqqu sees his troubled followers. Many have come here hoping the mystic will exorcise their demons, almost like in the movies.
Our family, friends and neighbors told us to seek the spiritual solution for my nephew, as medical science could not solve his problems. They advised us to see whether he was demonized by jinn.
Haqqu does the needful. He performs exorcisms and rituals on those affected. But after that, his son escorts them to a different room. Here, it's not about mysticism. It's all about science. Experts note down the symptoms people are suffering from, after which they are advised to take psychiatric help. Didn't see that coming, did you? As a Sufi saint, Emdadul Haqqu attracts hundreds of troubled minds. But he also knows his limitations. There is only so much his prayers and rituals can do. In the end, these people need professional help.
Those who believe in us and open up their stress, their problem, when they open up, they become more sound, and then the healing start with the psychotherapist, psychologist. Then they become more well.
The buzz outside the shrine is symptomatic of Bangladesh's larger problem, a pandemic of mental health. This is a country that was born out of violence and war. It has been ravaged by dozens of typhoons and floods. All of it has taken its toll on people's mental health, but they rarely talk about it. Some attribute it to ghosts and otherworldly beings. Others simply don't like to talk. Enter Emdadul Haqqu. The Sufis have always enjoyed an ambiguous role here. The radical Sunnis often condemn them as heretics. Yet, as you can see here, the public support is strong. Bangladesh has a population of 170 million. Serving all of them are 300 psychiatrists. A 2018 survey found that at least 1 in 5 Bangladesh citizens meet the criteria for mental health disorders, but 90% of them are undiagnosed. That's where this Sufi shrine could be a game changer. It's not a sudden cultural shock for the patients.
When they talk with the interviewer in the ground floor, their burden more again reduces to some extent. And when they come to me, or to me, like me, any other doctors, any other someone, whoever stays here, they feel that they are getting something. And this belief, is itself, I think, itself has a healing power.
The idea seems to be catching on. The country's top medical hospital is now training religious leaders. They are being encouraged to follow Emdadul Haqq's methods, to merge science and religion to help the people. South Asia Bureau, WION, World is One.
Sri Lanka Civil War was a long and bloody conflict. The Tamil minority suffered the worst of it, with thousands killed and many more maimed. For these survivors, the recent economic crisis was a double whammy. They are finding it difficult to survive with no jobs and high inflation. To make matters worse, the government appears indifferent to their problems. Today, we bring you the stories of two such survivors. Their body was scarred by the Civil War, and now they are struggling to survive amid the economic crisis.
As the sun beats down on his back, Singaram Susayamuthu drags himself over his peanut field. His life too was upended by the recent economic crisis. But Susayamuthu is a Tamil. His cries and grievances don't make it to Colombo. With much difficulty, he strikes his spade against the loose earth. The 44-year-old is planting peanuts. Here in Sri Lanka's north, the people have been scarred by the Civil War. Everyone has a story of pain and injustice. Susayamuthu is no different.
During the war, I was first wounded by a shell on January 14, 2009. After that, I was brought to a local hospital, but while I was there, the building was hit by an airstrike. And in that attack, one of my legs was blown to pieces, and I eventually lost the other leg too. I was also wounded on this arm and had wounds all over my body.
This place is called Mulaituvu. Just 20 kilometers away is the site of the final offensive in Sri Lanka's Civil War. More than 100,000 Tamils were killed in a single attack. 13 years later, those scars are yet to heal. Sri Lanka's Tamil minority lives in the northern part of the island. Financially, it is worse than the south. Mulaituvu itself is the second poorest district in the country. 58% of the households live in poverty. 23.5% of them reported losing their income this year. Among them is Susayamuthu.
I have more difficulties than a daily wage labourer because sometimes they manage to get by on a day-to-day basis. Some of them manage to do 1 or 2 days of work. But I don't have that opportunity, do I? Because if I go for daily wage labour, nobody will hire me. And it's also not possible for people like me to go and work like this, is it?
Before the economic crisis, he was a fisherman. But as fuel ran out, he turned to peanut farming. After a tiring day in the field, he heads into his makeshift hut in the middle of the field. This is where he and his eldest son live. It is the best way to keep the pests away from his precious crop.
The main problem we have in our lives at the moment is supplies, particularly rice, flour, sugar, lentils and other food items. If the prices of those items go down, we won't be struggling so much. We might be able to get by at least 75% of the time. But right now, it's a struggle to get by even 10% of the time.
Elsewhere in Mulaituvu, Senthipan Kalachelvi has a similar story to tell. She lost an arm and a leg in a shell attack. In the last days of the war, she had to flee her native village. The disabilities have confined Kalachelvi to her home. She is totally dependent on her mother.
They claim that people like us are given priority, but we never are. Wherever we go, we are pushed to the back. People who are better off get priority. The poor are still being pushed down in society around here.
Sri Lanka's Civil War was a 25-year bloody conflict. It pitted the Tamil minority against the Sinhala-dominated government. Around 800,000 Tamils were displaced by the fighting, thousands were killed, and many remain missing even today. The majority may have forgotten the war, but the Tamils here do not have that luxury. The ongoing economic crisis is serving as a reminder for them. Despite all the promises of reconciliation, all the promises of justice and equality, progress is still far away. South Asia Bureau, WION World is One.
The Maldives is facing an existential crisis from single-use plastics. Bottles and packets thrown away from different parts of the world are ending up on their shores. The beautiful beaches have been ruined by the ugly sight of plastic waste. Having said that, eyesore isn't the only problem. The plastic waste is threatening the marine life around the islands. It is contaminating the fish that is consumed by the residents there. One mayor is hoping to lead a campaign against this pollution.
The Maldives is often viewed as an idyllic island paradise, but that's not the whole story. Its picturesque beaches are being spoiled by plastic waste, thrown away by citizens in other countries. The plastic is carried by the ocean until it washes up on the shores here. On one of the most far-flung islands, locals regularly stage cleanup campaigns, removing tons of discarded single-use plastics. The island's mayor, Ismail Rafiq, wants to see an end to the constant battle against pollution.
Wherever in the world you live, please, stop producing plastics, stop throwing away waste, and be a responsible citizen. Adopt a green lifestyle. The environment, if we treat the environment badly, it will come back to haunt us.
The problem is deeper than just being an eyesore. The mayor is concerned that microplastics present in the sea are entering the fish that people eat. Rafiq hopes that a scientific mission called Necton Underway this month will provide some answers. Scientists will sample the country's waters to supply data that could change public behavior and make them think twice before dumping plastic.
If you can help us tell the people that, okay, the water and formula has microplastics, the fish you eat has microplastics, I think then it is very important information for us to help the people to change their lifestyle. So hopefully they will stop throwing plastics into the ocean. They will hopefully reduce or stop single-use plastic.
Ocean plastics are a potential threat to marine life and to life out of the water. With the depths of the world's seas largely unexplored, there are many unanswered questions about the damage it is doing.
There is a chance for having physical damage, as you can see, with very large plastic particles. When animals get trapped, suffocate because of the being trapped in plastics or eating it, for instance. But it's also, what happens on a much smaller scale when organisms at the very base of the food chain consume very small plastic bits.
Tracking where the worst of the plastic waste is located is one problem. Removing it is quite another.
Big plastic, fairly easy to remove from wherever you see it. When it comes to small particles, which again I cannot see, removing those is literally impossible. So that stuff will be there for the years to come.
Some think it's the next generation that holds the key to cleaning up the planet. These children are having swimming lessons. One small step to help them appreciate the oceans. Their teacher, Nadeem, works at a local waste management center. He hopes to inspire them to protect the waters they swim in. If the plastic waste problem is not stopped, these waters might one day be too dirty to swim in. South Asia Bureau, WION World is One.
That's all we have for you on this episode of South Asia Diary. We'll be back next week with a brand new lineup of stories. Until then, stay safe. I am Mariam Wardak and you are watching WION World is One.